to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
And welcome to Home Repairs and Solutions, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air, your authorized Amana dealer. The hosts for Home Repairs and Solutions are Mary Pearson and Mark Withers. Now here's Mary and Mark.
Good morning, Mark.
Well, good morning, Mary.
How are you this wonderful day?
I'm great.
Isn't it great out?
Beautiful morning.
Sunny day. Feels good.
Mm-hmm. Got a little rain yesterday, or a lot of us did anyhow, and so I got a little hail, a little rain. And
you got some hail?
I did.
Oh, I didn't hear anybody getting that.
Yeah. It.
You must be special.
I guess so. Hail, yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I stood there and watched the pea-sized hail bounce around off the patio.
Oh my!
Last night, and but the sun's shining this morning. It's a beautiful morning.
It's a beautiful morning. And it's Friday.
It's Friday.
That always helps too.
It does, absolutely. And
always helps.
Of course, no matter what the weather's doing outside, every Friday morning the sun always shines right here in the AM 560 KWTO studios when it's time for Home Repairs and Solutions.
It does.
Yep.
It does.
Yep, that's for sure.
So we're always happy to be here. Happy to have our listeners with us. Hope we got a bunch with us today. Maybe some of them will call in. You never know.
Well, you never know. That's for sure.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but we hope they're always listening.
That's right. I think they are.
Try to give them some good information, maybe help them along.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe make some good choices. And
I had some great comments on our show with Jeff Hansen. And,
yes.
We're going to have him back on here.
We are.
And, so we got a lot of great listeners out there, and they always tell us, hey, we don't always call in because you guys always ask the right questions, and which is kind of neat,
That is kind of neat.
But we do like to hear from you.
We sure do.
And so if you would like to talk to us, you can do that by calling 862-9977. 1-800-375-0056. If you're a Verizon wireless customer, star 56. Or if you don't want to talk, at least text us.
Sure.
You can do that at 417-838-3192.
That's right. Lots of ways to get in contact with us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we're getting closer and closer to spring. Thank goodness. I'm seeing a little bit of green, maybe.
Yeah, the calendar says it's officially here.
I know.
But we're starting to actually see it. Yeah, and which is great.
When spring happens, it gets really busy. People get into a flurry of activity, and they start thinking about planting gardens and just all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Spring cleaning their homes or all that type of thing. Some people think about buying or selling.
That's just what I was getting ready to say, Mary. A lot of people this time of year think about buying that new house, selling theirs, and
moving to a different location.
Yeah.
All kinds of activities in the spring. And so if that is something that you have in the back of your mind that you think, maybe, I need a different place. Maybe your house is too big now. Maybe you're, an empty nester.
Yeah.
And you have way too much house. Especially if you're a female, you don't want to clean all that stuff anymore. It's like you still have to clean it even if no one's occupying that part of the house. You still have to clean it. That's right.
Still have to clean it.
So maybe you want to downsize. Maybe you're retiring.
Mm-hmm.
You want to downsize, have less to take care of because you want to travel. There's all kinds of reasons people start to move. So we actually have the expert with us here today.
We do.
We have Ron Hartman. He's back with us. He's with Remax. And he knows everything that's going on in the housing market today. As a matter of fact, he's going to have to bail on us because he has a closing.
That's a good reason to run out on us.
I'll take it. I'll take that reason all day long.
Yeah, and so we're gonna let him skip out early so he can go take care of a closing for some folks.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
it's always good to be back. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. So there is quite a bit of activity going on in the housing market now.
Yes,
I've been told.
Absolutely. We had with the weather that we've had this winter, it's definitely been a lot slower in the housing market, and a lot of people don't like looking at houses with 6 inches of snow on the ground,
and
or
0
in
degrees
5-degree weather. So that definitely does slow things down in the winter again. But as the weather has been getting better the last couple of weeks, we've definitely seen a uptick in the number of showings we've got. and things are really starting to pick up. I'm looking forward to a really good spring and summer, and I need it because we had a really bad winter and fall.
Yes, it was pretty slow. And the rates are still very, very reasonable. They're still staying down there where it makes it affordable.
Rates
for
are
folks
still
who
real
wanna move.
competitive, and I think they will be for the foreseeable future.
I think so too.
And a lot of people are worried that since they've been so low for so long, we're going to have a lot of inflation. And the way to fight inflation is to jack the interest rates up a lot. And so I've heard some people ask me if I think it's going to get back to the way it was in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, dear, I hope not.
Double-digit rates. And I've not seen anything to make me think that.
Well, it would absolutely kill the housing market.
It would devastate it again.
Yeah.
I think, they're still, for the most part, under 5% right now for a 30-year fixed, and they may go up a little bit in the next few years, but I don't think we'll see anything in the double digits like it used to be back in the 80s. Rates are still real competitive. Home prices, although we have seen some appreciation in 2013, home prices are still fairly close to historic lows.
Yeah.
I mean, they're starting to get back up there, but they're not anywhere where they were in the housing boom.
Sure.
So you can still get some good deals on homes. The reason why prices have been able to go back up is foreclosures have really gone down.
Yeah.
Not near
you've
as many
kind of got rid of
foreclosures.
that glut of those empty homes.
Yep.
They've kind of been taken off the market, so that helps.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
And that when the foreclosures go that they sell at a big discounted price, that makes, of course, everything else in that neighborhood value go down as well. And since those are gone, now it's just the owner-occupant homes that are for sale anymore. And there still are a few short sales and foreclosures out there, but not near like it was the past few years.
Oh gosh, it was very very affluent the last few years. I mean, you could just pick them up at just about any neighborhood.
Yeah,
really.
And it's kind of most of the people aren't real estate investors. Most people, when they buy a house, that's their personal home that they're going to live in. And for those people, it's great. And that's the overwhelming majority of them. I do have talked to a few investors that are a little bummed that the foreclosures have gone because they've got some pretty good deals the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But as a market as a whole, it is good to have those kind of go away and get back to normal.
You know what I never could figure out, though, is it kind of didn't make sense to me. Like, if you have a whole neighborhood that is thriving and is affluent and doing okay, and then you have one foreclosure, and that foreclosure might have been caused by someone losing their job. It might have been caused by, maybe a death in the family and the spouse couldn't maintain. Who knows? And it really kind of just seemed like, why would one property bring down the entire neighborhood? But that's just kind of how it was.
It really was. And for the most part,
very unfortunate for people who were actually working and still making their payments.
And for the most part, if you had the neighborhood in a normal market, if you had one foreclosure in a neighborhood, it wouldn't greatly affect that neighborhood. But when we were in the market where there was just a lot of other foreclosures around there, it just kind of put that seed into people's mind that, oh, that neighborhood's got foreclosures in it, even though if it was just one. Since there were so many other ones, it just kind of got people thinking in that mindset.
There were some very high-end, expensive homes that had foreclosures in
Absolutely.
them, too.
And
so
actually around here, I'm not going to say that was most of them, but a very big chunk of the foreclosures was those $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses that a lot of them, the builders were building them and they never find a seller for them. So a lot of them were foreclosed on directly from the builder.
Right.
Some of them were people that got laid off. They had a very well-paying job and they got laid off. And so then they got foreclosed on because they couldn't afford the house payment on a house like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times these people got in these houses and they shouldn't have any.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's the other part.
That was a big, big downfall to things. We have a caller holding on. Let's talk to Don here in Springfield. Go ahead, Don.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good.
Listen, you're talking about housing. I want to tell some facts that the media won't tell because they think Barack Obama's the savior. Housing is usually the indication the economy is coming out of recession or depression or stagflation. They took a business course, OTC. I expect to go back. I learned a lot. But the fact is, how people don't know how to manage their money. They bought too much house for the money they had.
Sure.
Correct.
There's a record. It's on the local news. There's a record, foreclosure record in Greene County of people who foreclosed houses like you're talking about. But Barack Obama's trying to create a socialist economy and live in a socialized medicine and so forth. And it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Until we get Barack Obama out of office, which will be in 2016, I don't think the housing is really going to turn around. It's my personal opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that factor into that we need changed.
Well, our economy definitely needs some help.
Yeah,
it definitely does. There's people that are still struggling that can't find work and different things like that.
Yeah.
But I do see people seem to have a little more positive attitude.
Sure.
And to me, that's what it takes.
Yeah.
If
exactly.
everybody's down and depressed and sad, everyone's thinking the cup is half full, then the cup is half full.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's going on with the government or whoever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
People can really do a lot to, and if you don't believe, especially in this area, if you don't believe it, you find someone that has a need.
Right.
Or someone that has been devastated by a horrible disease or something, and see how this community will rally around that person and help that person. And so I think it has a lot to do with the people and lately it seems like people are a little more upbeat.
Yeah.
A little more positive about what's going on.
I absolutely agree with that. And
so,
by no means am I throwing out any political support for anybody. But, the government, I think a lot of people don't realize how little the government has to do with a lot of economies, especially local economies.
Correct.
If a local economy has a good job market where their unemployment rate is low, that economy is still going to do well. And Springfield, for the most part,
despite what's going on in the other part of the country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Springfield does kind of tend to follow a lot of the national averages, but we've always had a very good self-employed, we have a lot of small business owners in this area that aren't dependent on things that are going on in the east, west.
A big corporation somewhere else,
And on that note, we also do have a lot of big corporations here that provide a lot of jobs locally here.
Sure.
That has always made Springfield a stronger economy than the rest of it.
Yeah. And thank you, Don, for that call. We appreciate that very much. I've seen a big decrease in the foreclosures and stuff. Have one right now in Spring Creek. Haven't had one for quite a while. And just happened. So they're happening less often. Still some good deals out there.
There
Person
are.
really has to search for them, and you'll still find some good deals. But I tell you what, for the people that maybe are first-time home buyers trying to get into a nice home, we're building a 4-bedroom, 3-car garage, granite countertops, the whole works for $130,000. You can get into one of those fairly easy.
Yeah, and I've sold several of those houses to some clients of mine, and they are very nice houses. I mean, top-of-the-line finishing work, hardwood floors in the kitchen or tile in the kitchen if you want it. And I think the thing to remember is I mentioned earlier that prices are still lower than they were in the housing boom in 2006, 2007. That $130,000 house that Mark just described in 2005, 2006 would have probably been a good 150 plus.
Probably so, yeah.
For a 1,500 square foot 3-car garage with granite countertops, it would have been easily $20,000 more than that. So houses, although prices are starting to go up, which is good for existing homeowners, but for those new people entering the market, it's still a very competitive market. House prices are still good. It is still a good time to be a home buyer.
Sure. Did you get the email the other day? One of our local lenders here, I think it was a bank or somebody that was offering, they had an excess of, I forget, so many $1 million, and they were loaning to people who may have a little blemish on their credit, their credit score not, maybe not where it needs to be, but so there is deals out there. If
there are still,
and
people do need to be careful with some of that stuff. Again, not getting into a house that you can't afford. But
that's the key there.
A lot of the bank that you were talking about was doing that. A lot of people have some medical credit issues.
Sure.
And anybody who has ever had to deal with the hospitals, they know how bad they can be. And a lot of banks don't really pay as much attention to the medical debt issues as they would if you ran up your credit card or got a foreclosure or got a bankruptcy. Like most of those things that are a medical issue, if you just have some bad medical debt, don't automatically think you're not going to be able to buy a home. Go in and talk to a lender and find out what the situation is.
And the other thing you want to remember is just like they just mentioned, it depends on where the bank is financially and what kind of funds they have available. So if you go to one lender and they tell you no, that doesn't mean the next lender is going to tell you no. It depends on where they are. Banks have all these parameters and all the stuff they have to meet. And so if their deposits are low and their out goes too high, or there's all kinds of stuff, and they're regulated so much. So don't just take no that means no from everybody. And the best thing to do is to work with a realtor, because realtors, like they say, get this information so they know where the money's at. They can help you find the people that are maybe a little more lax on lending or that have more money to lend for that or that type of thing.
One thing and thank you for that plug, Mary.
Sure.
But one good thing about a realtor that a lot of people don't realize is they are the only person in the whole transaction of buying or selling a home that has a legal obligation to have your best interest in mind.
Correct.
The lender doesn't, the home inspector doesn't.
Right.
But the employment agreement that you'll sign with your realtor, it is a legal obligation for them to have your best interest in mind. And they're the only person in the transaction that'll do that. I mean, they need to, they almost represent you, and nobody's a big fan of lawyers, but that's the level of obligation that they have is when they're representing you.
And you got to remember, when you're working with a realtor, the only time that realtor is going to make any money, which they need to make a living and pay their bills, is when you actually buy or sell. So they are not going to give you advice, and they're not going to want to get you in a situation and waste your time. They're going to work with you and take you to the lenders that you need to be working with, help you get things put together. And they also want to see you succeed.
Sure.
Because when the housing market crashes, that's not good for realtors.
No,
so
not
they
at all.
like for it to be a strong market. They want people to succeed and stay in their homes and be able to make their payments. So they're your best ally and your best friend. So don't think that, oh, well, I'm not going to deal with a lender or with a real estate person because, I don't know if I can trust them and they're going to, do this and do that. There might be some out there, just like with everything else, that aren't
bad apples in every
trustworthy.
bunch. Absolutely.
But I would say for the most part, a real estate person is really, really going to do their absolute best to get you in a home that is going to meet your needs and meet your criteria for your financial
And don't
obligation.
be afraid don't just grab the first realtor that you meet at an open house or that you
Right.
call into the office. Feel free to call into several of the offices.
Interview 'em.
Interview them. Absolutely. That's
Absolutely.
exactly what I was going to say. Have a list of questions of things that are important to you and that you expect out of your
Sure.
realtor. One good thing to always ask is how much of their business comes from either repeat clients or referral clients, because that's a big indicator. I always say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the best compliment someone can give me is refer a family or friend.
Sure.
That means I did a good job. They trusted me to give my name out to someone who was important to them, a family or friend. And so if they have a pretty high percentage of repeat referral business, that's going to be someone who more than likely is going to have a pretty good customer service type of attitude. And I always hate saying this because it feels like a sales pitch, but I don't like to consider myself a salesman. We're in the business of customer service. We're trying to take care of these clients to make sure they get what they want. I'm not trying to sell you this house. I'm trying to help you find the house that's right for you.
Right. And that's what you want.
And you know how many times, Ron, has us being real estate agents been compared with the car salesman?
It
and
happens
I'm
a
not
lot of
saying there's a lot of good car salesmen out there.
Not a lot. There's a
but,
few.
There's a few. But no, I mean, we get put in that category, and you're right. We're not salesmen. We are real estate agents. We're there to work for you.
Absolutely. And again, there are probably some agents out there that have more of the salesman mentality where they're going to sell you the house and they're going to move on to the next one. And they can still do that and represent you well, but it's not going to have that full customer service that we try to provide. But yeah, I think that's real important is that I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm trying to look out for your best interest. Is this the right home for you guys? And then help you find what that right home is.
Well, and something else I think a real estate agent can do a good one for you if you're, especially if you're looking for a home or selling. But, the internet, you can get on the internet and look at houses all over the place. Now, if you have done that or if someone has done that, and then they can look really good on the internet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But here's
I'm really good at Photoshop.
There you go. So here's one of the situations where I think a real estate agent could really be helpful. Maybe you're looking at houses on the internet, which is fine, and you kind of know what you want. Narrow that down. Take those to a real estate agent because they can give you probably a lot more information. They might be able to steer you better and say...
Well, we don't like that term steering.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We can't
That's
do
true.
that. That's illegal. We're not allowed to steer you.
You can't steer
But what
them.
we can do is provide you information that a company like Zillow, online search, can't. We can tell you what the resale value in a particular neighborhood is, or a
And I don't know
particular school
how
district is.
accurate Zillow and trillion, all that
their
whatever
values,
it is.
Their zestimates is what Zillow calls them of real estate value. They're not accurate at all, at least in this area, because Missouri is a non-disclosure state.
That's what I've heard.
That means our sales, they get the information, Zillow gets their information from the county assessor's site. Well, sales information is not released to the county assessor site, so that is not accurate information. So those estimates on those websites are generally wrong. Every now and then they'll be close, but I've seen them to be $30,000-$40,000 off of a house.
That's what I've heard. So, and I know a lot of people use those sites, and that's why I was kind of bringing that up, because the information on there could be very inaccurate.
Yes.
But if you deal with a local real estate agent who knows the market, knows the area, you could take that information and say, I'm interested in this house in this area or whatever, and they can really help you narrow down the best place for you to try and go look. And the last thing I would want to do is run all over the country looking at these houses, because you can't get in.
Yeah.
So you're driving all over the place, and it might look great on the outside, and it might not be at all what you want on the inside. So don't spend a bunch of time and effort and energy on a useless chase.
Yeah, absolutely. And those sites, a lot of agents don't necessarily like those sites because they like to be able to have that control of presenting the property to the client. Where in the past, when a client wanted to go out and look at houses, they would drive neighborhoods or go to open houses. We've seen a lot of that decline because people can do it online. And I think that's a great convenience to the client to be able to pick out some houses of what they want. But like you said, bring those into your agent, ask them if they think this is the right house for them. Is you can go view it. Again, the agent's going to be able to tell you a lot more about the neighborhood as far as how well it'll resell in the future.
And probably more information on the house in general, because you have access to all these different lists and stuff that aren't accessible to the public. So.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Gary,
we're going to take a break. Before we do, why don't you give out your phone number? I don't know how long you're going to be here.
I'm going to have to leave at the break, and I appreciate being on again. Again, my name's Ron Hartman with Remax House of Brokers. You can get me at 417-887-5333 or my cell phone at 417-766-3559.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks again.
Appreciate you being here.
Yep,
we'll be right back. Stay with us for more home repairs and solutions.
Now if you've got a problem and you don't know what to do, your siding's going bad and you're plagued with green mildew. Well, your faucets, they all drip and your sinks are all clogged up too. Well, there's no need to worry. I'll tell you what you can do. Just call Home Repairs and Solutions. Home Repairs and Solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house. They'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home Repairs and Solutions.
Here's news on the Ozarks News Network. A 3-year-old boy is dead after being run over by a car at a home in Republic. It happened near Highway MM and Farm Road 148 when a driver backed over him in a driveway. The Vietnam Veterans Reunion is underway in Branson. Thousands of Vietnam veterans and their families are expected in Branson over the next several days. The reunion ends Sunday. And the Nixa School District says a St. Louis-based group is distributing misleading information about the April 8th bond issue vote. A group called the Missouri Club for Growth has distributed flyers encouraging people in Nixa to vote against it. Nixa School District leaders say the vote would not increase taxes. The money from the bond will be used to build FEMA safe rooms across the district and fix overcrowding problems in the junior high. For the Ozarks News Network, I'm Arlen Summers.
And join us for America's First News, Monday through Saturday at 6:05 a.m. on the Wall Street Journal this morning on AM 560 KWTO.
Take me out to the ball game, take me out to the park. We'll do just that on Morning Line, April 7th. Hi, this is Marty Schussler. I'll be live in St. Louis for the Cardinals home opener at Busch Stadium. It's the business of baseball, and we play a huge part here in the Ozarks. Cards GM John Mozeliak will be one of my guests as we broadcast live from Busch Stadium Monday morning, April 7th on Morning Line. Join us on the air from 7 until 10, April 7th for the Cardinals home opener at Busch Stadium here on AM 560 KWTO.
We'll have variable cloudiness throughout the day today with a few brief showers in the afternoon. High of 61. Later tonight, clouds will be breaking with a low of 35. Then it will be a mostly sunny day tomorrow with a high of 59 and a low tomorrow night of 36. Breezy and warmer Sunday with plenty of sunshine, high 75. I'm AccuWeather's Kevin Snyder.
It's 50 degrees at AM 560 KWTO.
So, 1 million lawyers, 1,000 plumbers, and 6,000 rabbis walk into a bar. One of the lawyers says to the bartender, "Wow, this place is starting to feel like the YP app." And the bartender replies, "Actually, the YP app has more than 18 million businesses, from pharmacies to florists." And then a termite walks in and says, "Excuse me, is the bar tender here?" Anyway, just wondering if you'd heard that one. Download the app and visit YP.com today. YP, the new way to do. Search results may vary.
We're your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet. Enroll, we say. We want you to be okay. Enroll, we say. Take care, people, for goodness sake.
Health insurance is now affordable and covers prescriptions, hospitalizations, and preventive care. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn more.
And take care, people.
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
What do your status updates say? You're learning a new language? Going all organic? Instead of typing your feelings, what if you could put them into action? By creating a network to help keep kids off the streets. In a country like Armenia, or in Honduras. What if every ounce of your being helped update the status of a person, and in turn they did the same for you? Would this be enough social interaction? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. Get interactive at peacecorps.gov/game.
Well, I went down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
And welcome back to Home Repairs and Solutions, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air, your authorized Amana dealer. If you have questions or comments for Home Repairs and Solutions, the numbers to call are 862-9977 or 1-800-375-0056. Or if you like to text, the number is
417-838-3192. Love to hear from you.
Yes, we would.
Yep, for sure. Hey, Mary, I want to remind folks, talked about this just a little bit last week, but tomorrow down at Lebanon, Missouri, we're doing our big fundraiser for Cody Allen. He's the 29-year-old young man that has brain cancer. And so we're doing our big fundraiser for him tomorrow down there. I know we play at 2, I believe, tomorrow afternoon, but it's at the Mill Center, which is right next to the Cowan Civic Center. Lebanon, Missouri. There's going to be all kinds of music and auctions and all kinds of stuff going on. And I just found out this morning that tomorrow morning at the Applebee's in Lebanon, they're doing pancake breakfast, I believe. And I think it's like $6 for pancakes and sausage or whatever. It all goes to help Cody Allen.
Good.
So if you get up early, come to Lebanon, you can go there and have breakfast, and then come over to the
What time?
to the show.
What time does the show? What time does it start?
You know, I really don't know.
Not sure? Okay.
I'm not sure. I think it starts around, probably around noon would be my guess. But just come early and.
And is there a fee to go, or is it just a donation type
I think it's
thing?
just a donation.
A donation.
Yeah,
So
I believe I'm not sure about that, but I think it is, because. How we'll raise the money is, like through the auction, silent auction, and all that kind of stuff. So
lots to do.
Lots
to
to
do there. You
do.
could listen to music, participate in the silent
Yeah.
auction, help this guy out.
help this guy out, and
I bet there's going to be a great turnout. There always
I
is.
bet
Like
there
I
will
said,
be.
this area of the country
Well, that's what made me think
always
about that
comes
again.
together
Yeah.
when there's someone in our community that's in need.
it's amazing, and that's why I do the Convoy of Hope deal every year because they're like that. The Breast Cancer Foundation of the Ozark is just tremendous on helping our local people when there's problems, and so we try to talk about some good people on this program.
Yes, we do, and you never know when you're going to be that person that needs some help.
That's right.
You never
You
know.
don't. You never know.
It's just it could be me or you or our listeners or
We just
somebody
never know.
anytime. So
yeah.
And it always makes you feel good when you know that you're helping someone.
It does.
So
it makes me feel good every Friday after I leave here because I feel like hopefully we've helped somebody out there.
I hope so too.
That's listened and
hope so too.
Yeah.
Hope maybe they were thinking about, gosh, maybe it's time for us to move, or maybe we need to look at buying a different place. So hopefully we got them some good information this morning here with Ron. Yeah. And if you need to buy a house or something, you can get a hold of Ron.
Yeah.
Or you can get a hold of Mark.
Sure.
Mark's a realtor also.
Yeah,
We've talked about that some. And so either one of those guys would be willing to help you out. They work together on different things. And
we do.
You're not going to hurt anyone's feelings if you pick one or the other.
Absolutely not. You can and the number for our the main office over there is 887-5333. You can call and just have the receptionist tell her you want to talk to me, or you want to talk to Ron, or you know, and either one of us would be glad to help you.
Yep.
So, but it is that time of year. You know, people generally start thinking about moving. You know, school's going to be out. Well, I mean, it's going to be a little later because all the bad weather we had. But you know, school will be out here in a couple 3 months. So people are thinking about, boy, I need to go ahead and get my house on the market, or we need to start looking for that house we want to move to while, you know, the kids are out of school. So when school does start, we're in and settled.
Right.
And so this is the time of year when a lot of people start thinking about
I believe Springfield gets out May 28th is what I heard. I think that's when Springfield schools get out. So, and that'll be here before you know it.
It will. You know, it's you look out now and you see the grass starting to green up a little bit. Some of the trees are budding out. So we know that that it's just right around the corner, and you know, and like you said earlier, this is the time of year also when people start, you know, doing things around the house to, you know, kind of dress their house up. It's a good time of year if you're going to think about if you got exterior painting to do. Won't be very long till the weather's going to be real conducive for that, because you don't want to wait till it gets real hot. You know?
No, goodness.
And that's no fun to be out there painting in 100 degrees outside. And just the lawn work, you know, I mentioned Jeff Hansen a while ago, and he'll be back on the program. Some great tips about, you know, things you can do around your house and new mulch. I was just looking at my front flower bed, and golly, the mulch is just pretty much gone, and so I need to remulch that. And so a lot of things like that people start thinking about doing.
And now we know how to mulch properly.
That's right, we do.
Which is important.
And you know what? Now I drive around and I look because and I seen one the other day. These people had this mulch mounded right up around the tree, looked like a volcano.
That's what he calls it, volcano mulching. And you don't want to do that.
And I just wanted to stop and say, hey, no, can't do that.
You need to pull that away from the trunk of the tree.
And then there's one house that it's right there by the Southern Hills Shopping Center. I seen it this morning when I come through there. They still got the trash bags over the wind turbines.
Oh, my goodness.
Take those off. Open those vents up. Open your foundation vents.
Yeah, you
need to do that because, you know, like, you know, yesterday we had 65, close to 70 degrees. And, you know, nights are still getting down in the, you know, in the 30s and stuff. So you get all this condensation start happening.
And it's going to stay right in that attic.
It's going to stay right there. Get those wind turbines uncovered.
Yep.
Open those foundation vents.
Yep. Need to do that if you haven't done that yet. This weekend, I'm not sure if we're supposed to have rain this weekend or what's going on, but this weekend might be a good weekend to kind of start doing a few of those little things.
Well, yeah.
And, you know, if you just kind of make your list, and you don't have to kill yourself, but, you know, make your list and do a couple things, you know, every day or whatever, and then it won't take too long. You'll have everything done, and it'll all be good and ready to go. I have seen some people starting to kind of clean out flower beds and different things. People are kind of getting the bug. You know, they want to plant things, and I think it's just been a long, hard winter for most people, and we're all ready for it to be over.
We are.
I'm certainly ready for it to be over.
I'm just looking at the weather forecast for this next week. You know, tomorrow's supposed to be sunny and 58. Sunday, they're calling for 72. I hear the OV twin.
Oh, my goodness.
Starting up.
My goodness, that would be great.
Yeah, so and all next week we're in the 70s, you know, upper 60s and low 70s, and a little chance of rain off and on, but man, what a great time to get outdoors and do some stuff.
Have you noticed this time of year when the sun starts coming out and it's warming up a little bit, people seem so much happier and in better moods and not quite so short-tempered, and and it's just a great time of the year to, you know, be out and get some things done. You know, maybe go to your local mom and pop store and talk to them about what they got, or if you need some, like you said, need mulch or dirt or something, get a hold of Hanson's Tree Service, or just kind of make your plans and kind of get things kind of scheduled as to what you want to do and when you want to do it, and it's not so difficult that way. Makes it a little easier. And
absolutely. You know, I was watching on one of the Discovery channels or something like that the other night, this program called Railroad Alaska. And the railroads kind of fascinate me anyhow. But this is a railroad that runs up through Alaska. And can you imagine, there was one guy, he lived by himself out, you know, he's basically snowed in like 6 months out of the year. And
that would not
just
be
out
good
there
for
by
me.
himself,
oh my!
And he's like, you know, I get to talking to all kinds of things. I'll talk to the trees or to the
I'm sure.
You know, my plates and cups.
I'm sure.
You know, and he said that I stopped and realized, man, you're talking to these things, you know.
These are inanimate objects.
Says so. Cabin fever does start to set in a little bit. I just can't
imagine
having hardly any contact for that long with other people.
I started getting cabin fever after about 10 days. I couldn't handle 6 months. That's for sure.
No, that's for sure. But you know, we have here in the Ozarks had a worse winter than what we normally have been experiencing, and so I know a lot of people has been stuck in, especially a lot of the elderly folks. And they're just everybody's tickled to see this and get outside, and it does put a smile on their face, and nothing like a little bit of sunshine to
brighten your day.
That's absolutely.
Right. While you're making your list,
Yep.
Some of the things you don't want to forget is getting your air conditioner maintenance done.
There you go.
We have a lot of folks who do that with us with Spring Mountain Air.
Mm-hmm.
We take care of a lot of that. We've had a few people call in. You know, is it time? Are we ready? It's not. We're not quite there yet, but
Mm-hmm.
we will be soon. One of the things that we're doing for a lot of folks right now is duct cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time of year where we can actually do duct cleaning for people and
Right.
get all that done. You know, especially there's a lot of people that, you know, I've run into people all the time say, I never used to have allergies, but now, you know, when things are blooming and it starts to bother them, I'm kind of having a little bit of that myself, not a lot.
Sure. Oh, I am too.
But I never had allergies or anything, but and they've taken care of cleaning the ductwork in my home and that type of thing. So if that's something you haven't had done in a while, now's a good time to do that.
Yeah.
You can always talk to us about our smart chip, all kinds of things to do. So just, you know, kind of get your list started, kind of prioritize things, what you want to do, how you want to take care of things. And, you know, I just thought we need to have Jeremy with Energy Wise on.
Yeah, we do.
This is a good time of year to bring him back and he can help people, give them hints about different things. You know, the winter can be hard on your home.
Sure
you can have all kinds of things happen that, you know, you might not notice. You know, we had some ice this year. We had snow build up. We had stuff, all kinds of things. Lots of wind. You know, one of my neighbors down at the lake this last windstorm had some shingles blow off. So there's little things that could have happened over the winter. Maybe you weren't, you know, aware of because we weren't outside that much. We weren't outside checking those things.
Yeah.
So he would be a good one to have on and kind
Absolutely.
of remind us of all the things that we need to be looking for.
Well, you know, it's just as important to save energy during the summertime as it is the winter.
Sure.
And, you know, we forget about that sometimes, but, you know, we want to make the house as energy efficient as possible when we're running that heat, but we want to do that when the air conditioner's running too, just as much.
Thing. Sure.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
so Jeremy has some great ideas. He can come out and do an air energy audit on your house, and to tell you where the issues are, what you need to do to correct it, and it's a great deal. He's a energy wise.
Yes, he is.
So.
Yes, he is. And something that's always good to check that, you know, if you don't get in your attic, which a lot of people don't,
right?
You know, we've talked about this before. You know, insulation over time will flatten out or whatever, and you'll lose some of the R factor. That's one of the things that is very affordable that you can do that will help with keeping your house energy efficient. And it doesn't take a lot of money. That's where Jeremy could come in and really help folks out. Say you have maybe you've got $1,000 and you want to do, you know, some improvements to your home. He can tell you the best way to do that.
Yeah.
So you get the best bang for your $1,000.
Absolutely. And, you know, a little while ago we was talking about uncovering those wind turbines and stuff. You know, just the moisture that forms on the bottom side of your roof decking and drips off into your insulation.
Can damage it.
Yeah, it can damage it and decrease your R value that way.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good point because insulation will settle after years, and so
nothing stays the same.
Nothing stays the same.
Nothing stays the same.
Nope,
so
that's for sure.
Even as bad as we want it to, it just doesn't.
No.
So there's always, if you're a homeowner, there's always maintenance. There's always things, and nowadays, you can buy a home that's pretty energy efficient and pretty low maintenance.
Yeah.
But there's still going to be some maintenance.
Yeah.
There's still going to be things over time that you can improve. So.
Well, I hear it so many times. People say, "Oh, I've got a house that's all brick and everything, so I don't have to. It's no maintenance.
Maintenance free.
You still have to. There's no such thing as maintenance free.
No, you can have low maintenance.
You can have low maintenance.
But you're always going to have maintenance.
Absolutely. So if you have faucets in your house, they take maintenance. If you have heating and air, you have maintenance.
Everything is maintenance.
Yeah,
everything takes some maintenance.
And even brick on the outside should be taken care of and cleaned and properly sealed. Every now and then. So no, there's no such thing as a maintenance-free house. Like you say, there's low maintenance, but no maintenance-free.
That's true.
We got a caller holding on.
We do. We have Don from Springfield, but this is a different Don.
Yeah.
So good morning, Don.
Good morning. Is there any way I can estimate what it would cost for duct cleaning in my house? Is it so much per duct or?
No. It's based on the tonnage of your system. So if you have a 3-ton system, and I don't have all these prices memorized in my head, but if you have a 3-ton system, it's so much money. A 4-ton is so much. We don't care how many duct runs and stuff you have. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So you can call the office if you know what tonnage your system is. They can give you a price over the phone. And the number at Spring Mountain Air is 831-4036.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Good call.
We get that question a lot. That how do you price it? We do. We keep things simple at Spring Mountain Air. We don't like to make them complicated or convoluted, and so we set up our duct cleaning pricing to where it's like the rest of our pricing. We don't make you count registers and returns and duct runs, and it's just just confusing, and there's no reason for it.
No reason for it.
No reason for it. So, or if you don't know what size your unit is, if you know the square footage of your home, we can get pretty much right on with it. So
and I want to tell you another thing, and you guys do this that is so important. We've talked about this several times on the show. Is making sure your dryer vent is clean.
Yes.
I showed you that piece of vent pipe that came out of a house that was built in the later 80s, and it was completely clogged up.
It was like concrete in there. Oh,
yes, it was.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and so, that is so important. That'll save you energy because your dryer will be more efficient if the vent's free and clear.
Yeah.
It's such a fire hazard, and it's something that sometimes we just take for granted because we don't think about it.
Yeah.
But it's well worth the money to have Spring Mountain Air come out and clean that dryer duct.
You know what? I was thinking that, you didn't hear about this so much before growing up. We didn't hear about, we used to hang clothes out on the line.
Exactly.
That's why we didn't have all these clogged dryer vents.
Yeah.
Because we didn't use them like we do now. Once in a while you might see someone hang something out, but everyone had a clothesline when I was growing up. We had a clothesline and we'd wash the clothes and hang them out.
Yeah.
But you just don't see that anymore. So the dryers are being used continuously now. So it's quicker for them to build up. It's, you have that clogged